I have a confession to make. Slightly obsessed with Against the Storm. It's the game that I'm playing in between work jobs, when I stay up at night, any moment I can sneak it in, it's Against the Storm. So what is it about this city builder that's ensnared me so deeply? Let's find out. Oh, and caveat, yes, I do work for Hooded Horse, Against the Storm's publisher, but it has to be stated, I'm not receiving any form of financial incentive to make this video, only if you purchase the game from my Nexus GG store, where I get a wee commission. And with it sitting at about a 93% Steam rating, 12,000 reviews, it's an easy buy in my opinion. But anyways, just what is Against the Storm? Setting the stage. Let's start with the basics. Against the Storm is a roguelite city builder, meaning that it's a city building game where its mechanics ensure that no city is built the same, no matter how hard the player might try, and try you will. Storyline wise, you're a viceroy of the Queen, sent out to explore the regions around the smoldering city and rebuild civilization in a world that never stops raining. As the viceroy, you'll need to establish cities and garner the Queen's favor in order to build up resources that will rebuild said civilization. Only, the Queen can be a bit touchy, and while you'll try to fulfill various tasks that increase favor, the longer you take or the more tasks you take on at once, the faster the Queen's impatience grows. If impatience fills up before favor, it's over, you've lost your progress. If that wasn't pressure enough at the start, every 40 years of in-settlement time, the rain that I mentioned earlier turns into a massive storm, wipes the map clean outside of the smoldering city, and you have to start over. Now, while that seems pointless, there is a progression into the end game. Certain missions net you seal fragments, and should you have enough and be able to venture out far enough, you can try and reforge a seal in a special, and not gonna lie, very intense settlement scenario. This seal mission is also dependent on difficulty level, with harder seals requiring a higher difficulty level to take on. Each seal you reforge extends that cycle between storms by 8 years, giving you more and more time to build, more time to venture further into the unknown forests, more time to find higher difficulty seals to reforge. And as of the time of this video, there actually is no full and wholly complete end game, but we'll get into that a little bit later. What really sucks me in though, is that it truly is a unique city builder, from species to mechanics and everything in between. I know I won't get to every mechanic in the game, and to be quite honest, that would almost be a video in itself, but Against the Storm first struck me with its variety in humanoid species. At the time of this video, there are currently 5 of them: humans, beavers, lizards, harpies, and foxes. Each of these species has a variety of job specialties and city desires to keep their resolve high. Resolve is necessary to keep the villagers in said city. Drops below 0, they'll start leaving, emptying jobs, shutting down production of whatever they were tasked to do. On the flip side, push their resolve above the threshold and they'll generate favor with the Queen, allowing you to finish your settlement faster. I both love and hate the variety of species in Against the Storm, and it will 100% drive how you play each city. Lizards, foxes, and harpies like their meat, but they like different types of refined meat, meaning I have to think ahead on production lines if I'm leaning heavily into these species. You'll always want beavers if possible, as they can chop down wood faster than you can say, how much wood could a woodchuck chuck at a woodchuck chuck a wood? Boom, 500 wood in that sentence alone. Providing for your different species by giving them their own special houses, or making skewers and biscuits, or building temples and taverns to satiate religion, education, leisure, and luxury, each city will get a different set of villagers, forcing the player to adapt to what's been given them, or allow them to only have certain species in their city so they can optimize. More than that though is the reaction to the world around you. Surrounded by forests of all different types, you'll have to venture out and cut into various levels of glades, which contain various event-oriented caches, totems, buildings, and creatures to solve however you can or however you will. It might be easier to break down a cache to nab some sweet resources, but a little bit of patience and you might have the resources to gain favor with the Queen instead. Showing mercy to a creature may cost you some precious tools, but the forest will see you as compassionate and reduce its hostility towards you. Yes, that's right, the forest is, in a way, alive around you, and it 100% sees you as hostile. Every woodcutter, every glade you open, every year your settlement's still going, so many factors can contribute to hostility, and as hostility increases, depending on the settlement, various effects will take over during the stormy season. Your resolve might drop, production might slow down, heck, even your villagers may start dropping dead on some of the higher difficulties. You'll have to balance your decisions to combat hostility. And while there are indeed several ways to fight it, just how you'll go about it's completely up to you and again, the world around you. If it stopped there, I think I'd honestly be pretty satisfied, but it doesn't. One of the more intriguing mechanics of the game are perks. These perks are continuous effects on your settlements, and they'll vary just as much as any of the other roguelite mechanics in the game. You'll find perks through about every form of major decision: your glade events, your seasons, the biomes you're in, the traders that you can have access to, you name it. These perks can do crazy things in your settlement, like just give straight production boosts to harvesting like stone, or different foods, provide you with certain goods on the completion of other goods. Just the other day, I received 3 barrels for every 10 planks that I produced. How did that figure? I have no idea, but still, they can also boost the production time required to make something, which actually reduces the time to create the product. You know what I mean? You can see all these perks in the bottom corner of your screen at any time, which is awesome. It gives you some food for thought on deciding what buildings to pursue or what resources you'll want to focus on collecting. And like any other rogue type game, there are rarities, which you'll want to try your best to acquire and use. The only caveat to perks is that they'll reset with every new settlement, just like any other roguelike mechanic, so you cannot carry them on. So don't get too tied up in them, they just don't last. I could seriously go on and on about all the mechanics I haven't mentioned, like how there's now 3 types of water to collect to further boost production through pipes, or new glade timed events that push your quick decision-making skills to the test, or how you can set recipe limits so you don't run out of resources, maybe dig into trading with other settlements to have a steady income of amber, which is the game's currency. There's simply too many to tackle in this video though, but rest assured there's a lot going on with this game. I think the most critical piece to all this isn't the game itself, it's the developers, a commitment to steady, consistent, and game-changing updates. One thing I haven't mentioned yet about Against the Storm, it's in early access. Against the Storm released into early access November of 2022, and its developers, Aramite Games, have continuously provided update after update after update since then. These updates entailed new species, entirely new mechanics like what I just mentioned at the end of the last section, refinements of previous mechanics, balances, bug fixes, you name it, they've probably done it. I've had plenty of discussions with people in the gaming community boasting about Aramite Games because they are the pinnacle example of a developer that's doing early access correctly. Even when they push a new major update every 2 or 3 weeks, it doesn't even break your save, which is pretty standard. At most, you lose your progress in the current cycle of storms, but even then, they give you resources to help the pain of losing some potentially good settlements. I cannot brag on Aramite Games enough that they are doing things right. I'm always impressed by their consistency and the quality of the updates they provide. There are so many fully released games featuring teams of hundreds that do not bring the level of updates that this early access game gets. Again, it's easy to see now why Against the Storm is my current obsession, and I cannot imagine that anyone who enjoys city builders wouldn't enjoy this gem. You should get to enjoy it. I doubt you'll regret it. Remember, ladies and gents, if you want to purchase this game, support this channel at the same time, you can purchase it from my Nexus game store. Otherwise, thank you so much for listening to my ramblings on the latest binge-worthy game. This is Havoc, and I'll see you in the next one.